Hello and welcome back to the lab. Since my last video on the restoration of the HP 400H vacuum tube voltmeter, I was looking to acquire an HP 400D voltmeter to go along with it and to add to my collection. And here is that voltmeter. I received one and I did a restoration on this one, so it's now functional just like the 400H. This voltmeter was basically in good condition. Of course, it was very dirty, so I had to clean it. The only problem with it really was the glass had come loose from the meter movement itself and fallen inward against the face of the meter, which had bent the needle, and of course it made it inoperative. So I removed the meter movement, took the front bezel off, re-glued the glass into place, carefully bent the needle back to its correct position using a pair of needle nose pliers. The bend was down here near the bottom of the needle, so it's not even visible through the glass anymore. I perfectly realigned it with its original alignment and put everything back together, realigned the instrument, calibrated it, and it's now fully functional, just like the 400H. So I have a 400D to add to my collection. Now, I didn't make a video of the restoration of the 400D because I figured it was pretty much the same as the 400H. Internally, both instruments are exactly the same. Electronically, they're both the same. The only difference being the size of the meter and the fact that this one has a mirrored scale and is individually calibrated, whereas this one is just a standard meter movement. Therefore, this instrument has a 2% accuracy, and this instrument has a 1% accuracy. In fact, they really both have the same accuracy. It's just very, very difficult to read this meter to the same degree of resolution that you can more easily read this instrument. So that's why they give it a 2% tolerance instead of a 1% tolerance. So now I have two 400 series voltmeters. While I was online on the auction site looking for this 400D, I looked at several others that were being put up for sale. And because I had looked at them, one of the sellers came by and reduced the price of his 400D and to try to get me to purchase it. And he reduced the price so low, it was basically almost free. And I couldn't resist, so I bought it. So I bought a second 400D, and let me show it to you now. Okay, so here's the new, not new, here is another HP 400D vacuum tube voltmeter. I don't need a second HP 400D vacuum. I didn't even really need the first one, but now I have a second one. And because I didn't really make a video of the last restoration, I thought I would make a video of this restoration. And because I'm really not interested in even keeping a second 400D, I was thinking that maybe once I've completed the restoration of this instrument, I would give it away to one of my viewers. We'll figure out how to do that towards the end of this video, and maybe if you pay shipping, I will send it to you. We'll figure out exactly how to do that a little bit later on in this video. But right now, I just wanted to show you the instrument. It's really dirty, and it's got, asset tags and calibration stickers and stuff on it. This calibration sticker says, what does that say? 19. I can't read it, but I think it says 1987. 1987. So we know it was working back in 1987. It's got more stickers on the side. It's got some Dymo label maker stuff on the back. Serial number, prefix 310. which could mean 1963, although it's probably a little bit newer than that. It might be 1964 or something like that. So it's quite old, quite old. And the paint seems to be in reasonable condition. The leather strap on the handle, um, it's intact, although it's pretty dried out. I wouldn't trust trying to lift this thing by the leather strap without supporting it underneath. It might fall, and that would be very bad. Now, usually with these instruments, I don't bother bringing them up on a variac or a dim bulb tester. I check to make sure the line voltage is set correctly, and I check to make sure that the fuse is correct. And in this case, it says it's a 1.5 amp slow blow fuse. It's supposed to be a 1 amp slow blow fuse. It's not the correct fuse. So I'm going to have to look and see if I can find the correct fuse. This instrument isn't line voltage selectable from the rear panel. You can change the voltage by changing the jumpers inside the instrument. Because it has the wrong fuse in it, it means someone has changed the fuse at one time or another, which means there may be a problem with this instrument. I don't know. So I'm not just going to plug it right in. I think we're going to have to open it up and take another look. Also, I noticed that the line cord is quite brittle and crusty, and I don't really trust it. So I think probably the first thing I'm going to want to do is replace the line cord even before I plug it in and turn it on. So let's go ahead and open it up and see about changing out the fuse and replacing the line cord before we power this instrument up. Okay, time for the safety warning. This is a tube instrument, and as such, it has potentially lethal voltages inside. It's nothing to be playing around with. So if you don't know what you're doing, please refer servicing to someone who does know what they're doing. You don't want this to be the last voltmeter you ever work on. Okay? All right, so I've taken the two screws out of the rear panel, and it slides out from the front. Oh boy, it's dirty. Really dirty. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, something I see right away. Here, there's supposed to be a selenium rectifier, one of those old style selenium rectifier. Someone has replaced it with a modern silicon full bridge rectifier. Um, Good. I mean, I guess that's good. It looks like they've done a good job. Um, I don't know if they have gone through and readjusted the voltage at the output, because you're going to have to do that. So when I get it wired up, I will make sure that this is correctly adjusted, because that provides the 12.6 volts DC for the filaments. And if there's voltage is too high, which it very likely is, since the selenium rectifier has been replaced, you're going to have more than 12.6 volts on those filaments, and you'll really shorten the life of those tubes. So I better just double check that. But really, I opened it up to replace the power cord. Right, that's what I want to do. I see a lot of rust in here. The cases to these pots are pretty rusty. There's a little bit of rust right in here as well. Dirt throughout the entire thing. We'll probably go ahead and just clean it out, clean out all the dust and dirt before powering it up. Now, on my other 400D and the 400H, these tubes were actually labeled Hewlett Packard. This one looks like it's got RCA tubes. I don't know if they're the original tubes or not, but they are RCA. Yeah, that's an RCA tube. I don't see a date code on it, but I'm not sure if these are the original tubes or not. I know HP didn't actually manufacture their own vacuum tubes, but they did mark their tubes with the Hewlett-Packard name and logo. These are not marked like that, so I'm not sure. I also don't see a date on those tubes, but it looks like all the ones that are uncovered anyway, they're all RCA tubes. So chances are pretty good that those are the original tubes. Yeah, even under here, it's an RCA tube as well. Lots of dirt, lots of dirt. What's this one down here? Also, yeah, they're all the same. It says Mexico on it. I'm not sure if Hewlett-Packard used tubes made in Mexico, but it's very possible that they did. In fact, um, they stopped making tubes in the United States a long, long time ago. So, um, very possible that these are the original tubes, I suppose. Get that one plugged back in. All right, so I'm going to see if I can disconnect the line cord and put a replacement in there. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, I literally spent the last 2 hours simply cleaning this instrument inside and out, including trying to get all the labels off of the front panel and the side panel and all that old adhesive from decades ago, scrubbing it very carefully with some isopropyl alcohol. Took a lot of effort. It actually took me 2 entire hours, but I think the instrument is pretty much cleaned up. Now it's time for me to um, swap out the power cord with one that's less crumbly and coming apart. Um, the power cord comes into this terminal strip after going through the strain relief on the rear panel. So we have black or hot, white or neutral, and green or ground on these three terminals on the terminal strip. So I'm going to try to unsolder those now. And of course, my replacement power cord has the new European style color scheme, which I'm not familiar with. So I'm going to have to do a little research to figure out which is hot, which is neutral, but I'm sure I can figure it out. And I'm reusing the same strain relief because I don't have any new ones. So I'm going to try to push this in very carefully. Oh, I don't know. Might be tricky. Well, I'll have to do it off camera. All right. It was very difficult, but I got the strain relief in. It's a good thing I wasn't recording because I find in situations like this, a little extra colorful language helps persuade things to get into places where you need them to be. We don't need to record that. Okay, so apparently brown is hot, blue is neutral, and green is, of course, ground. So let's solder the new cord in. By the way, I've always pronounced it solder. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation or not, but everyone I've ever known has always used a silent L in the word solder. So that's how I'm going to say it. Now I have the correct fuse. Instead of the 1.5 amp, I'm going to use the 1 amp that belongs in here. And I guess we are ready to turn it on. All right, here goes nothing. Let me plug it in, of course. All right, here we go. Nothing is exactly right. Nothing. Instantly blows the fuse. Hmm. So we have some work to do. Yay. Well, I should have suspected that this was going to happen since the original fuse had been replaced with the incorrect one. Upon further inspection of that original fuse, I noticed that it had already been blown. So when I received this instrument, it was already blowing fuses. Um, I immediately suspected the silicon rectifier that I thought had been was a replacement for the selenium rectifier that originally was here. Upon closer inspection, this rectifier actually has a Hewlett Packard part number on it. Now, I didn't think that any of these had a silicon rectifier in that position, but because it's a Hewlett Packard part number, um, I I still don't think that it was original to the instrument, but I imagine that there was probably a retrofit or upgrade that was performed by Hewlett Packard to replace the selenium rectifier with a silicon rectifier. I actually did check this rectifier out, and it's not shorted or anything like that. It actually is functioning. Um, I don't know exactly what caused the blown fuse. I have to do a little bit more troubleshooting, but I did find a couple of defective parts in this instrument. Um, the can electrolytics, which almost never go bad. As it turns out, there are two bad sections in these multi-section cans. One bad section in this cap and one bad section in this cap. Um, so I'm going to have to replace those. And of course, you can't get these old can capacitors anymore with the twist lock bases. Um, so I'm either going to have to put in some other more modern capacitors or do something else to make those replacements. Um, I don't think that's the only problem with this instrument because I can't imagine that an open capacitor is going to cause it to blow a fuse. But the capacitors do test open. One section in this capacitor tests open, and one section in this capacitor also tests open. The remaining sections in those capacitor cans are fine, but you really shouldn't continue to use um, uh, the other sections of a multi-section can if one of them is defective. So I'm going to have to replace all the sections in this cap and all the sections in this cap over here. Um, there's probably something else still defective with this instrument. Um, because I can't imagine that it would blow a fuse. Now I checked out the primary and secondary of the main transformer, and it seems to be okay. I don't see any shorts or anything like that in that. So it's not the main power transformer, which is a good thing because there's no way I would be able to replace that. So anyway, um, I discussed this situation with my my wife, and she wanted to encourage me to continue working on this instrument just because I love working on these old things. I really feel almost like an obligation to rescue these magnificent old instruments and keep them out of the dumpster, you know. Um, and I had already made a commitment to fix this instrument up and give it away to one of my viewers once I get it fully restored, or as well as functioning as well as I can get it restored. So that's what I intend to do, but there won't be any details of that in this video. We're going to have to wait for another part two. while I order some replacement parts to swap out those capacitors and maybe take another look and figure out what else is going on inside of this thing. But I'm going to get it all fixed up, and then when it is fixed up, I'm going to give it away to one of you lucky viewers who is interested in uh, keeping these old beasts alive. So thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned for part two, and maybe put a bid in on this instrument, and you might win it. One lucky viewer might win this instrument once I get it working. Thanks again for watching.